แสงพระธรรมนำใจให้ไร้ทุกข์แสงพระธรรมนำสุขทุกสมัยแสงพระธรรมส่องสว่างครางดวงใจแสงพระธรรมนำจิตให้สงบเย็นก็ขอธรรมสวัสดีมายังญาติโยมท่านสาธุชนทุกท่านนะฮะที่กำลังติดตามรับชมอยู่ณวัดพุทธปัญญานันทารามเมืองแวนคูเวอร์ประเทศแคนาดาและกำลังติดตามรับชมทางเพจของวัดธรรมยทารามเมืองเซียโตรประเทศสหรัฐอเมริกาและท่านผู้ชมท่านผู้ฟังที่อยู่ทางบ้านทั้งในยามเช้าของอเมริกาแคนาดาและก็ในยามค่ำๆของประเทศไทยฉะนั้นตอนนี้ไปก็จะเป็นรายการธรรมะภาคภาษาอังกฤษชื่อรายการว่า You Can Talk ธรรมะแล้วก็เป็นรายการที่พิเศษจัดให้มีทุกวันเสาร์ซึ่งรายการนี้ก็ถ่ายทอดไปยัง YouTube นะฮะแล้วก็ทาง Facebook นะฮะฉะนั้นทุกวันเสาร์ก็ได้เชิญคุณโยมชอดเนี่ยมาได้สนทนาธรรมท่านใดที่มีคำถามมีปัญหาก็สามารถที่จะส่งคำถามมาได้ฉะนั้นเพื่อเป็นประโยชน์ในการเผยแผ่พระศาสนาก็เลยได้ส่งเสริมให้มีภาคภาษาอังกฤษซึ่งจะได้เป็นประโยชน์ในวงกว้างต่อไปฉะนั้น is good morning everyone and good evening in the Thailand and good morning is Yom Chos is right now is the time for to talk in the Dhamma of the Buddha teaching and for have everyone and to be happy and to be enjoy and welcome Yom Chos to discuss and Dhamma talk.
Good morning, Ajahn Tuachai, and good morning, all American and Canadian folks, and also good evening, Thailand folks. So today I have brought a topic of Dhamma which is very important, and it was appearing in the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra, which is the sutra that the Buddha delivered soon after his enlightenment. That topic is what we know as the Four Noble Truths. But today we are going to talk about the Four Noble Truths in different perspective. We try to talk the Four Noble Truths in the sense of a tool of life, so that we can apply the Four Noble Truths or to implement the Four Noble Truths in our daily life. As we all know well that there are only two things that the Buddha taught during 45 years of life, and these are the suffering and the end of the suffering, which transform into what we call Four Noble Truths, the great teaching of the world. So let's take a look of those two things that the Buddha taught to all of his disciples. First one is the suffering. The suffering is always go on and on, along with the birth, aging, illness, separation, and so on. And then the second, the cause of the suffering, which is the craving, basically, or wanting, or unwanting even, which always leading to the attachment. There are four types, there are four different kinds of attachments. that appear in the sutra. The first one is the Buddha referred to the attachment of the self-pressure, the clinging of the worldly things. We call it kamupatthana. You know, in our daily life, we always consume, we always working in order to achieve the things that we want to, and then we attach to those all materials that we are owning, we are having, or what we are eating, the food, the taste of the food, the appearance of the things, the properties, all these things are we consuming. Along with the consuming, we also attached to it. In Pali, we call it kamupatthana. And the second attachment is the attachment of wrong views. For example, the eternalism. Those who are having a long view, they always believe that everything is stable. Everything is very certain. Nothing is uncertain. Or they will consider all things are just nothing. We call it nihilism, which is very practical during the Buddha time, because the Buddha was born amongst the different beliefs of the Brahmins, the old Hinduism. Yeah, basically there are two main schools of believing. One is eternalism, or we call it sassata titi, and then the nihilism, we call it uchetiti. So these two beliefs was really greatly practiced during the Buddha time as school one as the two main school of the Brahmin. And the third attachment is attachment of rites or ritual. By believing that the rite alone can lead us to the liberation. Those who are keeping very seriously about the sila or the morality, by believing keeping the morality or the sila or the precept can lead them to what we call it the liberation or the nibbana, which is not sufficient for the one who want to go to the nibbana. And the fourth attachment is, this one is very, very deep to be considered. It's called attachment of the self-doctrine. It may be considered of the self-identification, the self-entities. Ajahn Buddhaghosa emphasized that these are the real causes of the suffering, which is, I do agree, and all Western Buddhist scholars agree with Ajahn Buddhadasa. So the attachment of the self-doctrine is the main, the topic of the atta, the topic of anatta has been really mentioned along with the attachment of the self-doctrine, on the belief that if one can destroy, one can restraining the atta, all the things that happening in the mind that we craving, that we attach to, will disappear. We attach too much to the thing that we own because of we have a sense, a big sense of atta. We thought that we are. We thought that we having. We thought this is me. We thought that this is mine. So that's how all attachment arise from the craving. When we see things, when we hearing things, we will smell things. When we knowing things, when we after we occupy on those things, on those material, or all those forms, or all those mental object even, we start attaching, we start clinging, and that's how it's leading to the suffering. So the sense of the suffering is actually arise from the attachment to the things that we occupying, we belonging. Okay, now let's take a look at the Four Noble Truths that has been formed by the teaching of the Buddha from the two topics that he discovered, and he kept teaching for 45 years. As I mentioned, the suffering and the end of the suffering. The first one he referred to the cause of the suffering. The second one he referred to the first one he referred to the suffering itself, and the second one, which is the cause of the suffering, that we already mentioned about the attachment. Now the third one, let's take a look at the end of the suffering, or the cessation of the suffering, the solution of the problem, or the goal. The Buddhist goal, the highest goal in the Buddhism, in the Buddhist practical, is the Nibbana. So when we talk of the end of the suffering, we always try to approach the goal in the Buddhism, which is called the Nibbana, or the sense of the liberation, is main goal. And that is the end of the suffering, that we may also knowing under the name of the Nirodha, or even the Viraka, the disappearing of the sense of the craving, wanting, unwanting. So they fall under the end of the suffering, or the cessation of the suffering. And come to the last one, is the way to end the suffering. The Buddha really emphasized this truth, that human being can always construct or make up the tools by training the body and mind in order to achieve the goal of life. That become a great teaching of the middle way, or the Majjhima Patipata, which also refer to the first sutta after his enlightenment, which equipped in the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, or as we know under the name of the Wheel of Dhamma. So by understanding the Four Noble Truths, we can apply to our life as a tool. So now let's look at the four requisites of the life, which are, as we all know, water, food, shelter, and the medicine or drug. We will see that today world the water industry occurs because of human being facing the physical thirsty. Physical suffering occur when we are feeling of the thirsty. We need to drink some water, and that's how the water industry become really in need of all human beings or even the animals. The food industry occurs and makes millions of millions currency because of the hungry. The construction industry occurs and makes billions of billions because of human needs. The shelters, the accommodation, the buildings, house, condominiums, rentals, that cost billions. And it becomes, especially in US, in America or wherever, the construction industry is you know, it's a real property. That's what we call. And the last requisite is the medicine. Right now we are under the situation of the pandemic. The pharmaceutical industry occurs and make more billions of billions because of human illness. So at this point, we can understand, we can realize that how important of the Four Noble Truths by just understanding the first truth, which is the suffering. We are in suffering, and that's why all this industry occurs to solve the problem of life. For example, the thirsty, the hungry, the need of accommodation, the shelters, the need of the drug or the medicine. The pharmaceutical industry arise for the sake of illness. Solution. So the economy of the nation and the world begins with the concept of the Four Noble Truths. And it begins with the human being suffering, which is a nature of all being when there is a birth. So the suffering is something that's unavoidable, and it's you know, the inevitable for a human being life. Also the animal worlds, one cannot avoid. And that's how all industry, how economy of the nation, the economy of the world occurs in order to serve the need of the human being. So beside this usefulness of the Four Noble Truths as a natural process of life, the Four Noble Truths, once we understand clearly we can implement it as a concept of a solution of the problem of life. Life is always approaching the problem, here and there we are surrounded with the problem, and that's how the job, the works are to be served for the human being in order to solve the life problem, to get rid of the problem. What I have been talking is about the problem of life, or we call the suffering or the dukkha in the Buddhism. We try to live our life in order to get rid of the problem. And to achieve that mission, we have to scan into the problem, into the root of the problem. We set up the goal, what we want it to be, and then we put an effort to find a way to get rid of the problem. The problems are all around us, at work, at home, at the restaurant, even at the temple where the monks are living. There is a problem. So the problem is all around, and that's how the job occurs, the economy occurs, the nation occur, the world economy occur, the circulation of the material, the transportation, the traveling of the people going here and there, all kinds of the activities is to serve, to solve, to get rid of the suffering or the problem of the human being. So that will happen powerfully or effectively or productively after we understand thoroughly about the Four Noble Truths. And once we understood the Four Noble Truths, we imply and we apply, we implement the idea or the concept of the Four Noble Truths, we certainly can achieve the goal of life. All human being has a goal of life, what you want to be. You want to be success in your career. You want to be success when you are working as a doctor, as a pharmacist, as an economist, as a teacher. You want after set up the goal, or want to achieve the goal through the process of concept of the Four Noble Truths. It seems to be that all human beings are having a common problem. If we scan, if we look into the problem of the human being, we are all having the same problem. We sharing the common problem. Everybody's hungry, everybody's thirsty, everybody wants something for life. We all having the common cause of the problem. We sharing the same cause of the suffering. The wanting, the craving, the clinging, the attachment. These are all the common cause of the human being, which are we sharing, you and I. Whatever we have, we are suffering. You have house, you have a suffering of the house, you have the problem of the house. You have a car, you own the car. Whatever you belonging to, all the material that you are belonging to, you are suffer. You are having a problem of it. When you have a car, you have a car problem. When you have a house, you have a house problem. When you have a children, you have a children problem. When you have a life, you have a life problem. So we sharing all the same problem, same cause of the problem. And actually we also have the same goal of life. We want to be happy. We're trying to away from the problem. We're trying to get rid of the problem. That is the goal for everybody. It looks like we have the same needs. We want the same thing. And finally, we are having the same tools. That the Buddha taught and the Buddha offered, and he kept teaching about the tools for 45 years and become a great teaching, become a really great teaching in the Buddhism. And it's not mentioned or appear in any teaching of any other religions, which we call Majjhima Patipatha as the greatest tools that the Buddha offered to the human being. And it's only human being that can have the tools. In the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra, the Buddha delivered the teaching, the first teaching, and he mentioned about the Noble Eightfold Path that has become a tool for the human being to practice, to cultivate, to make up it. And he showed the way how to cultivate, how to have those tools through the process of the 3-4 training, or we call it Dry Sikha. The behavior, the concentration, the good behavior, the good concentration, and the intellect or a wisdom, or we call it panya. These are the tools. These are considered as the way to train our life in order to have a tools known as the Noble Eightfold Path. So if to want to achieve or to accomplish the life, once those have to cultivate or construct the tools in the under the process of the 3-4 training or the Dry Sikha, which is Sila, Samadhi, and Panya. those who could achieve the training or the Trisikha, they will have all 8 tools, the 8 equipment of what we call the Noble Eightfold Path. Let's take a look a little bit deeper what they are. The first one is the right view, or in Pali we call it Samma Titti. When we live our life, we have to study, we have to learn things in order to get the right view or the right vision. You know, we do things mistakenly, we do things wrongly because we don't have a right view. We always have less or more of the wrong view, and then we repeatedly doing unknowingly that we already occupy what is called a wrong view. So the wrong view can always, distract our behaviors, our doing, our mission of life. All activities are misleading when we have a wrong view. The Buddha mentioned that one have to believe, have to study in order to get the right view. For example, going to the good association, hanging with a good person, we call it Satta Burut. The noble person. The first Satta Burut in our life is our parents, our father and mother. This Buddha mentioned these 2 persons are the first, the noble friends, the Kalyana Mitta. We have a chance to learn from them along with the living after we were born. We have the first 2 teachers, which is father and mother, as a noble person or a Kalyana Mitta. The parents always guiding us for the good thing. They not only give you a child rearing, but they always teaching. And then when we grown up, we go to school. We have more knowledge from a teacher at school. And when the man reached the age of 20, you can practice more Dhamma by ordination. So the main factor in order to achieve the right vision or the right view is the academy or the education, either from the school or from your parents, or by you hanging out with a good person, hanging out with the Satta Burut, the noble friends, the Kalyana Mitta. So the life learning is the way to achieve what we call the Samma Titti, or the right vision. So once you have a right view or a right vision, your speech, your action, or your intention will spontaneously right. So the key is the right view or a right vision, or in Pali we call it Samma Titti, is the key. It's a heart teaching, the heart, the core of teaching of the Noble Eightfold Path. You're going to become, after you having a right intent, a right vision or a right view, you're going to become a person of believing in your own action. You don't have to go to appeal to the God that, oh, please allow me to do this, not to do that. You not become an asking person, but you become a doing person. Because you believe, because you have a right view, then you believe in your own karma, in your own karma, in your own action. And this is the main teaching in Buddhism, that the Buddhism is considered as the religion of the action, or we call it Kammavati. It's a teaching, the speaking. It's a religion of action. It's not a religion of asking or appealing. It is a religion of action, Kammavati. Viriyavati, the teaching of the religion of effort, and energy. You're going to become a person who believes in the gratitude. You respect the person that used to help you, used to support you. For example, your parents, father and mother, who giving you a life. You're going to become a person of believing in good things. When you do a good things, you will get a good thing in return. You don't have to ask for good thing in return, but you will get it when you're doing, when you begin doing a good things. You can expect the good things in return because of your own action. And effectively, you're going to become a person who can approach the truth of life. You can achieve the goal of life by seeing the truth. And the truth of life is the impermanent or the uncertainty, the anicca. You understand that all things are approaching, subjected to be suffered. We call it dukkha. You become a person of seeing that we are not we are, or a sense of non-self, anatta. So you go after you learning, after you hanging out with a good person or the sattabur, after you accomplish your own goal of studying, of the education, after you practice, after you doing a Dhamma practice, you allow yourself to see the truth of life, that nothing is permanent, everything is subjected to the suffer, and everything is non-self. This is the truth that you can achieve when you have a right view through the education, through the process of the practice. The three characteristics of anicca, dukkha, anatta that will arise in your heart. And that's how you can let go by you have a right view, a right vision of life. You become let go of the thing that you're having. Let go is a mental action that you can live your life normally. You can have wife, you can have house, you still owning, but you're not attaching to it because you have a right view to the object that you're owning, that you are occupying, that you are living in, that you are having. For example, you still have the properties, you still going to work, you still having a children. But instead of clinging, you become let go. It's a mental action that you don't attach to. When it's broken, you're not crying. When you are in the situation of that you have to separate it to be away from someone that you love, you're losing your job, you're not crying. Because you understood the truth of life, the truth of everything, the truth of all existence, that one day it has to go. And again, one day it must come. So all things you understood that is a fashion of coming and going, because it's impermanent, it's uncertain, it's not stable. One day you love your wife. One day you're going to hate your wife. One day you love your job that you are doing right now. Another day you may hate your job. You don't like to do this job anymore. All these are a mental object that you're approaching, but you are mindfully knowing that everything around you are uncertain. They are all impermanent. That you don't want to waste the time. It's really useless to attach to all things that are impermanent, that has no sense, that's not essential, that has no essence. Because behind all this existence are non-self. It's useless when you cling to, because they are all non-self. They are all anatta deeply. So from the right vision can lead you to understand all things in this world, in the world of the materials. So once you have a right view, then the second noble eightfold path arise. That's called a right intention, or we call it samma sankappa. Your intention become pure, become right. Your mindset become really active, become really intelligent. you become a person of having a good intention of doing things. You have a pure intention. And on top of that, you may have an intention of renunciation. You have a good intention of helping person, supporting the activities. You have what we call loving kindness mind or metta chit or metta chittang. You become a loved ones and you become a person who loves someone always instead of hating. These qualities of the mind arise because of you having a right intention. And then it's going to lead to the third Noble Eightfold Path, which is the speaking. You become a person of having a pure speech. You speak politely. You never produce the hate speech because you have a right intention. You know how to speak. You know when you speak. You know when you not speak. You become a good person to listen to another. So after the right view, after the right intention, you become a person of producing a right speech. And then you become a person of having a right action, a good karma. You become a person of avoiding not to hang out with the bad person, doing only a good things, supporting, helping, whatever you consider is a good things. You never be hesitate to doing a good things or good action that you always keep in mind because you have a right intention, you have a right view of the thing. You can scan what's good, what's bad, and then you make a decision, right decision to perform an action, to demonstrate in a good manner, good fashion, in a good pattern of life. So this is just like a waterfall that from the top of the mountain to a lowest or to a deep. Then you become a person of doing only a good job, good work, because it's Samma Achiva, Samma Achivo. You're trying to avoid not to do a bad career, and you try to maintain your career when after you consider this is a good career, the career that not hurting someone. You will never steal something from someone because you understand that everyone having a same goal. That is the happiness of life when you're occupying, when you belonging things. Everybody want to make a use of what you're having. You become a person of understanding that goal. You're trying to avoid what Korea that you are not supposed to do it. The trafficking, the human trafficking, you're trying to avoid. You're not trying to go to the casino. You're trying to achieve the thing in the right way, right Korea, good Korea. When you have a right intention, right view, right vision, you're going to become a person who have a lot of full of energy, the full of energy, the fuel of life, the strong effort of life. We call it Samma Viriya. Instead of avoiding to do things, you're trying to approach things to be done. You're going to become a really highly motivated person, inspiration. You become a person who alert all the time. You never become you're not going to become a person who overlook the thing, but you're going to become a person to look over the things. Your mind is going to become the investigative mind. We call it yoniso manasikara, because you're having an energy, an effort, a fuel of life. You're going to become a person of having a really good concentration, the samadhi. You're approaching the happiness. When you have a highly samadhi, highly concentration, something that you can expect is the happiness when you have a concentration. Because the concentration makes happiness. The Buddha mentioned about sukha samadhi. The happiness that can be arising from the samadhi, and vice versa. The samadhi can be arise from the sukha. The Buddha spoke of the sukha samadhi. And then finally you're having a mindfulness. You're having a right mindfulness. This is the greatest tools of the Buddha that offer, and he kept teaching these tools on the Noble Eightfold Path for 45 years to liberate the world, to liberate the people from attachment up until now. So this is because of we understanding the Four Noble Truths. We can apply the Four Noble Truths as a tool for the solution of the problem of the life. Whatever problem you have in your life, think of the Four Noble Truths. try to scan what the problem that you are having now. When you scan the problem, you will see the cause of the problem. You will see the cause of the suffering. All the things cannot arise as such. It's always having a cause. The suffering has a cause of suffering. The problem has a cause of the problem. That is very logical. That is very natural. Along with that, you will see you can set up the goal that how to solve the problem or the solution of the problem, and then you can cultivate. You can construct your own equipment. That is the Noble Eightfold Path through the process of the threefold training or the Traisikha in Buddhism. So this is will happen. This will occur when you learn the Four Noble Truths in the Buddhism. So I think this concept or the doctrine or the dogma or the teaching of the Buddha, or we call it the Dhamma of the Buddha, is really useful, giving you a really advantage. The benefit of the Buddha teaching is numerical, uncountable. So I think this is the topic that I brought for you today is very useful topic for living a good life. Yeah, so today I think this is what I have brought to you, and I hope you get an idea, less or more, and you can apply and you can implement the Four Noble Truths in your daily life. ครับ ในส่วนของผมคงมีเท่านี้ครับอาจารย์ครับ
And thank you so much. And you're just to talking about is Four Noble Truths, and this is a very important and the Dhamma of the Buddha teaching when the Buddha attained enlightened under the Bodhisattva. He says it was like awakening from dream. He spent the next 40 years to teaching others how to experience the same thing he has experienced. His teaching and we call is the Four Noble Truths. This is very very important for the people. If people understand about Four Noble Truths, and like Yom Short is talking and explain, because we should and every the Dhamma of the Buddha teaching, and is a point is the Four Noble Truths. And if we understand about the Four Noble Truths, and we can understand is all the Dhamma of the Buddha teaching, and it is very good to study and to develop about the Dhamma of the Buddha teaching, how we can experience and how we can study about what is the suffering, what is the origin of suffering, what is the sensation of suffering, and what is the path that leads to the sensation of worrying. This is a very very wonderful teaching, and maybe sometime you short, and next time we can invite someone and we have a question when we discuss about the 4 week, 5 week, and we will brief about the question, how to practice the Dhamma, how to understand about the real Dhamma. I think it's wonderful and very good. And before we leave, and Yom Shot, can you say goodbye and blessing for people and to be happy?
Thank you, Ajahn. Yeah, I think I no need to cover up because Ajahn Tawachai is already summarized or make a conclusion of what I have spoken. And I just want to insist all of you that the teaching of the Four Noble Truths is very useful and most useful teaching that everyone, you don't have to believe in the Buddhism. Whatever you believe, you can use the teaching of the Buddha in your own life in order to live a better life. The Buddha was born amongst many different religions, but once where and whom he taught, he never asked the person. One thing that we can notice that he never asked the person to change, but the people who come to listen to his teaching change themselves. This is a wonderful point of view of the Buddhism, that the Buddha never demand, never give an order for you to change. This is the wonderful, this is the miracles, or we call it asajan, the miracles of the Buddha teaching, that he never order, he never asks you to change, but the person who come to listen his teaching change themselves. This kind of teaching never appear in any religions in the world of the religions. Yeah. So this is about the Four Noble Truths that Ajahn Tawachai already summarized. I thank you, and I like to thank you everyone who come and join this program, giving strongly support this program. I wish you all guys, all folks in America, Canada, and also in Thailand, to be happy, healthy, stay safe, and keep social distancing, wearing a mask, and try to save yourself, and living mindfully, calmly, and that it should be the best blessing for me. Thank you, and we'll see you next Saturday morning and evening in Thailand. Yep. Thank you.
And thank you so much. And for your choice is we should practice the Dhamma and meditation, and for how to be happy, how to be enjoy for our situation, and we can, and for the we practice to study about how the Buddha teaching. ก็ขออนุโมทนาญาติโยมทุกท่านนะฮะที่กำลังติดตามรับชมและรับฟังรายการธรรมะในยามเช้านะจากวัดพุทธปัญญานันทารามเมืองแวนคูเวอร์ประเทศแคนาดาแล้วก็จากวัดธรรมยทาราม ฉะนั้นก็รายการธรรมะออนไลน์ก็จะมีรายการธรรมะออนไลน์ก็จะนำมาพบกับท่านทั้งหลายอยู่เรื่อยๆนะฮะในยามเช้าๆเราก็มียามค่ำๆเราก็มีรายการธรรมะพาเพลินนะต่อไปเราก็จะมีรายการธรรมะในยามเช้าบ้างนะฮะรายการนิมนต์เชิญญาติโยมมาสนทนาธรรมแล้วก็คุยธรรมะแล้วก็นิมนต์พระครูบาอาจารย์ได้มีโอกาสมาสนทนาธรรมบ้างซึ่งในอนาคตเนี่ยเราก็สามารถที่จะเชิญนิมนต์นะฮะครูบาอาจารย์มาพบปะญาติโยมซึ่งเป็นการทดลองเวลายามเช้าของที่อเมริกาประเทศไทยก็3 ทุ่ม 4 ทุ่มนะฮะซึ่งเวลาก็ต่างกันแต่ว่าเวลาที่ดีก็คือเป็นเวลาที่เราได้ศึกษาธรรมและปฏิบัติธรรมฉะนั้นให้ญาติโยมทุกท่านได้ศึกษาธรรมแล้วก็ปฏิบัติธรรมนะฮะไม่ว่าในสถานการณ์ใดก็แล้วแต่เราจะต้องมีสุขภาพที่ดีแล้วก็มีจิตใจที่เข้มแข็งอยู่ได้ทุกสถานการณ์การศึกษาธรรมปฏิบัติธรรมเพื่อเข้าใจชีวิตแล้วก็เพื่อให้ชีวิตของเรานั้นมีความสุขดำเนินชีวิตไปได้อย่างไม่ทุกข์ไม่โศกไม่เศร้าวันนี้รายการก็ขอลา ท่านทั้งหลายเพียงแค่นี้ก่อนนะฮะแล้วก็ช่วงนี้ก็วันพระซึ่งจะเป็นวันชันวันเพ็ญก็จะมีธรรมะเช้าอาจจะมีธรรมะพิเศษสำหรับวันพระฉะนั้นญาติโยมท่านใดที่จะติดต่อที่วัดหรือว่าจะธุระอะไรช่วงนี้ที่วัดก็งดกิจกรรมแล้วก็ปิดวัดอยู่เพราะว่าด้วยสถานการณ์ของไวรัสก็ขอให้ญาติโยมทุกท่านนะฮะจงต่างแคนาดาอเมริกาเนี่ยก็ขอให้วันนี้เป็นวันที่สดใสแล้วก็เป็นวันที่ดีของท่านทั้งหลายทำหน้าที่เราให้ดีที่สุดแล้วก็สำหรับญาติโยมที่อยู่ทางประเทศไทยก็ขอให้นอนหลับฝันดีราศีสวัสดิ์ and thank you so much for everyone to have a good night and have a good dream and take care and enjoy